have we seen anything like this before where the National Guard has been given these immigration arrest powers?
No, this is the first time, and I should note this goes back to a 1996 law that was passed by Congress. It gives the federal government the right to declare an emergency related to what's called a mass influx of migrants. And that's what's happened here is that President Trump basically has declared this so-called emergency. Actually, the Homeland Security actually is the one who declared it. And so it gives the federal government the right to send money to the states and localities to deal with the influx of migrants and to delegate authority to local law enforcement agents, and that includes apparently, in this case, the National Guard, to help enforce aspects of federal immigration law.
So have they had to use it before, specifically in Texas, or will this be the first
This
time
will
that
be
the
the first
National Guard
time,
has gotten this?
the first time this has ever been invoked. So we're in kind of uncharted territory. So let me be blunt. National Guard troops, yes, there's a small percentage who are trained for crowd control and such, but to actually engage in a form of law enforcement activity, and that's what this primarily is. This is law enforcement. Someone are, oh no, it's not. It's a national security issue. Yeah, but it's really not. It's more of a law enforcement issue. State troop, excuse me, National Guard members are not trained to be police officers in essence or to be county sheriffs. They're trained to do what they do in terms of military operations.
When you saw the memorandum of understanding, what were your thoughts on the requirements when it comes to training and then what these operations are going to look like? Essentially, a National Guards person and either a Border Patrol agent or an immigration official essentially working together in order for this to be able to happen.
Right, which tells me they're looking for political cover or not political cover, legal cover in the sense of, okay, we're going to send a National Guard troop to help enforce border control, which again is a law enforcement issue. They want to have a law enforcement officer with them to basically say, okay, this person assisted with us, but in reality, it was Border Patrol or it was the county sheriff or city that actually did the actual arrest.
What is the benefit to Texas when the White House has already said we are going to prioritize border enforcement and immigration arrests?
I think some of it is it's Abbott, among others, trying to basically, it's not, one can make an argument political theater. We can set that aside. I would make the argument he's actually instead trying to do this to reinforce the point as he made at the White House a couple of days ago that he wants to be reimbursed, wants Texas to be reimbursed for border security, for the wall and all that stuff like that. I suspect that may be one of the motivators here about, look, we're helping yet again with border control and border enforcement, and we're spending yet more money to do this. We need to be reimbursed for it before you guys take over.
Do you expect to see a lot of immigration arrests come out of this arrangement?
Doubtful. We've already seen unlawful crossings of the U.S. border, particularly in Texas, Eagle Pass specifically, drop to a trickle. And so to say that somehow that we're going to see a lot of arrest out of this, I think is kind of disingenuous. Again, it's for show. It's you can make an argument for a political show. It's for legal show. It's again to show Washington that Texas means business. And again, we want to be reimbursed for what we've done.
Why the National Guard and not Texas DPS, which is technically a law enforcement agency?
My guess is because DPS, you don't have nearly as many state troopers as you do potential to deploy for than say National Guard members, and so that's probably the primary reason why. Because you have a lot more National Guard members in the state of Texas. DPS troopers have other responsibilities as well, and so that's where the argument would be. That's why you need to rely on county sheriffs, local law enforcement, and working in tandem with, well, the National Guard.
We've seen it before where other states would send their National Guard to the Texas border. Do you foresee those states potentially trying to do something like this to keep their National Guard helping?
I could see that. I mean, I recall, among others, the state of Oklahoma sent National Guard troops to Texas. I think, by the way, they were relatively quickly withdrawn as well. Again, politics plays a role here. Is it possible you could see the Oklahoma National Guard, Arkansas National Guard show up, at least to make an appearance. Anything's possible because, again, this is, as much as anything else, the border situation is a hyper political issue.
Is there anything else you think people should keep in mind when they're seeing these headlines about the National Guard making immigration arrests?
Now, my big concern is what happens if you're trying to apprehend people as National Guard members who are not, okay, they may or may not be deputized in this regard, but they do not have the law enforcement training that our state troopers, that our county sheriffs and deputies and local law enforcement have. What happens if they attempt to make an apprehension and something goes horribly wrong?